Hey, welcome back to the Old Gal Box Podcast. This is the Big Red Elephant scouting report for Alabama, number one in the country at Vanderbilt Saturday, 3:15 Central Time, 4:15 Eastern Time. Looking forward to it. Alabama right now, as of this recording, a 23-point favorite. And keep in mind now, Alabama has not lost to Vanderbilt since 1984. And that's funny because last week, while I was covering golf on the PGA Tour, the President's Cup in Montreal, Quebec, I did a report for CBS on Wednesday before the event started. And Joe Musso, the anchorman, he said, Doug, give me a prediction. And I said, the international team, which, by the way, that was the 15th competition, and they'd won only one time. The United States team was 12-1-1 going in. I said, the international team beating the United States is kind of like Vanderbilt beating Alabama in football. It just doesn't happen. And it was funny because Joe Musso instantly said, 1984, right? Right. That's when Ray Perkins was the head coach at Alabama, a couple of seasons removed from the passing of the great Bear Bryant. And that was a tough year for Alabama. Coach Perkins, they were 5-6. They opened the season with a loss against Boston College, national television. Kerry Good was running all over the field and then injured his knee in the third quarter. And then things progressively just got worse, culminating with that terrible loss to Vanderbilt in '84, where Alabama led 13-9 at the end of the third quarter, and Vanderbilt dominated the fourth quarter to bring home the win. But that's the last time, and to think it's going to happen now in 2024 is absolutely ridiculous. Even though this Vanderbilt team is improved, Clark Lee, the head coach, got a bunch of transfers in. For the first time, Vanderbilt delved into the transfer portal. They got some of their supporters to pony up some money, so they had some money to spend in the NIL department. He got Diego Pavia from New Mexico State, his offensive coordinator, some of the other coaches. And I respect Clark Lee, by the way. He parted company with friends and acquaintances he'd known for a long time, but felt a change was needed at Vanderbilt, and so far, so good. Clark Lee, by the way, a former baseball player at now defunct Birmingham Southern University. I think like 25 years ago, he was a catcher on a team that won the national championship, or maybe a backup catcher. But anyway, now he's a football coach, well-respected, longtime defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, and is doing a nice job at Vanderbilt trying to change the culture. They almost beat Missouri, lost in double overtime. And in that game, Pavia, the quarterback, he threw for about 187 yards and ran for more than 90, ran it 18 times. He runs an option. And he's a small guy who dodges a lot of tacklers. He's elusive. But I will say this about Pavia, and he's a young man who takes a lot of hits. He doesn't dive. I mean, he lowers the shoulder and tries for the extra yard and sometimes takes these glancing blows. So he's a hit or two from being knocked out of the game. So watch that on Saturday against an Alabama defense that is very fast, very athletic, extremely aggressive. So that'll play a factor, I think, certainly on Saturday. The one thing also, if you watch all the tape of Vanderbilt, in the secondary, that second level, it just doesn't appear to me that they have the speed and athleticism on the corners to keep up with the explosiveness of an Alabama offense that is number one in the Southeastern Conference and number one right now in the country. We'll see. All I know is in double overtime, Missouri scored that winning touchdown over the top, and I think that's going to be open again for Alabama. Again, Jalen Milroe is an exceptional quarterback. He's gotten better as a passer. It's amazing how far he's come from last year this time to where he is right now, and the fact that now Kalen DeBoer's offense has created, we saw it against Georgia, and it caught Georgia by surprise, the empty backfield, which creates a lot of running options for Jalen Milroe, designed running plays. You know, he's a big, fast kid, elusive. And the thing about Milroe, not only are his numbers outstanding on the field, and he has Ryan Williams and all these weapons, these explosive weapons on both sides and in the backfield, but he's a young man who is the true leader of this football team. The kids love him, and he leads them by example. And I'm telling you, it's it's worth its weight in gold when you have a young man who is this talented on the field and this exceptional off the field. A great young man he really is. So Alabama's in good stead. The question is, will they cover the 23-point spread? And I think what we're going to see, and again, Coach Saban said it best on game day a few weeks ago, and nothing against Vanderbilt, and of course they've refurbished the stadium, but he said the one stadium in the Southeastern Conference that does not create a home field advantage is the one in Nashville at Vanderbilt. It's just not loud, and the majority of the fans on Saturday will be Alabama fans. And I just think where Vanderbilt may create some chances early for themselves, throwing a curveball here, a changeup there, I think in the end Alabama has just too many 4 and 5 stars, too much talent, too much speed. They're too big along the offensive line. I think Alabama will have an opportunity to run that football and run it successfully. And again, it comes down to the old adage that Coach Stallings has said a million times is you got to run the football, you got to stop the run, and you have to win the giveaway, takeaway department, be on the plus side in turnovers. And I think that's what's going to happen with Alabama. Again, they create their average yards per play is just, I mean, they're in an almost impossible offense to stop. So I think in the end, Alabama does cover that spread, and I think that'll be the winner. Oh, by the way, on Monday mornings when I'm on with Barry and Wim Sanderson on Tide 100.9, at the beginning of the year, I threw this out. I said, hey, let's try betting on Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State each and every week, regardless of the point spread, and let's see where this takes us. And now after a month of the season, keep in mind now, Alabama 3-1 against the spread, Ohio State 1-3 against the spread. Or excuse me, Ohio State's 2-2, and Georgia is 1-3 against the spread. So right now, over a month, we're 6-6 with that experiment going. Just throwing it out there. And as Coach Sanderson told me on Monday, he goes, but you're not winning any money. Haven't lost any money. We'll follow that as the season goes on. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. The weather's going to be fantastic in Nashville. And I do believe when all is said and done, Alabama will cover. And that huge contingent of Alabama football fans that'll be there, it'll be like an Alabama home game. They'll be down on Broadway celebrating because it's an early kick. They'll have a great time on Saturday night. And again, this will not be 1984. Alabama, since that loss in 84, they are 12-0 against Vanderbilt. It'll be 13-0. On Saturday. This time, no, like they did the last time they played when they destroyed Vanderbilt. They won't destroy them 59-0, but I do think they will cover that 23-point spread. Talk to you next week, everybody, and roll Tide.